just this past week. It was one of my coworkers' birthdays. And so we were all on a call together and we wished him happy birthday. We said, happy birthday, insert coworker's name here. And said, oh, thanks guys, that means so much. And of course someone had to say, how's it feel to be an old man? Because I don't know his exact age, but he's around 50 years old. You never really know the exact age of your coworkers, but you have a ballpark guess. Sometimes, right, they'll reveal the age. They're like, oh yeah, I remember when I went to college 20 years ago. And you're like, all right, let's do the math here. Did they have a traditional college experience? If they did, well, that would make them about 38, right? But no, they said they took a gap year to go to Italy. Oh, so we got to factor that in. But then they didn't talk about the second gap year. They only, right? Okay to say a gap year for 1 year, but anything after that, ooh, there's less intention behind it. It's more like, oh yeah, I kind of just continued my gap year, and now it's a gap 2 years. In fact, time is a construct, right? So what is a gap year? Why can't I just say I took a gap time? In fact, why do I have to say I took a gap? I'm just living life. So you never really know how old your coworkers are, but I have a good guess that this coworker is around 50 years old. And so people, naturally were like, happy birthday, old man. And he's like, it's funny you guys say that. Actually, my kids, this coworker has 4 kids. He said, one of my kids had the courage to say it. And they said, they called me Unk. And everyone was like, oh, huh. What does that mean? He's like, honestly, I don't really know, but it has to do with being old. And so naturally, everyone slowly turned their gaze to me. They're like, well, resident young guy, what do you think? What does that mean? I was like, oh, right. I have to decipher these things. I forgot. Unk is, it's more of a relative term. I would, unfortunately, sorry, coworker, but I would say you're probably closer to more OG territory. Not really Unk. In fact, a lot of high schoolers would probably look at me and call me Unk. And then another coworker said, yes, he's right. I concur. You see, I took my son to a baseball tournament. It was 16 through 18-year-olds, and all the 18-year-olds were getting called Unk by the 16-year-olds. The 16-year-olds were calling the 18-year-olds old. Can you guys believe that? I was like, no, that's exactly, yeah, no, he gets it. That's exactly right. It's all relative. Unk, it doesn't mean like, oh, the people in this age, right? It's not a generational thing. It's all relative, right? There's probably someone in 4th grade calling someone in 8th grade Unk. And that person's 13 years old that's being called old. But they're being called old with a new age term. And I'm glad, I'm glad I can do this for my team. And I can be the young correspondent, right? The pundit for the young people. But I do fear, right? It's a nice honor to have right now, but I do fear for the day that I age out of it, right? Because it won't happen. It won't be explicit, right? No one's going to say Unk and then they're going to be like, well, you can't ask him because he's old as shit. They're just going to stop asking. Someone's going to be like, oh yeah, my kid said this young term. And then everyone's going to be like, and we don't know what that means, right? Because we're all about the same age. I'm like, no, we're not. Not me. And they're like, hey, come on, don't make us say it. I'm like, no. I'm still young. I'm just like their kids. And they're like, hey, give it up, bud. All right? The jig is up. I'm like, no, it can't be. Sure, do I have a lot of back issues? Yeah, but that's not a thing. That's just me. I don't place that on the age thing. I think that's just a personal problem. I have a lot of personal problems, but age isn't one. I'm a great age. I'm a perfect age, in fact. But that will happen, and I won't catch on to it. It'll just slowly happen. You'll just get phased out. And the thing is, I'm lucky right now. I'm still the youngest at work. In fact, I've always been the youngest at work. It's weird. I'm 26 now, about to turn 27 in December. I hope you've thought of your gift probably already. Yeah, just maybe think about it again. Are you sure I'm gonna want that? Am I gonna use it? Right? Can you imagine me using that day to day? All right. Yep. Hopefully you kept the receipt. But I turn 27 later this year. And still, I've never worked with someone younger than me. Yes, 3 years ago we had an intern, and then 2 years ago we had an intern, but that was an intern. They came and went. There's never been someone working full-time that's younger than me. So I've always felt young at work because I've been the youngest. Like even within my team, the next youngest person is 39 years old. And that's pretty much always how it's been. Well, I did have a work best friend. He was on our team for about 2-3 years, I think, and he was 3 years older than me. But I always looked at him and I as the same age. But even so, he was older than me, right? I've never worked with someone younger than me that's been a full-time worker. So I still don't know what that's going to feel like. Maybe that'll usher in the new age, right? That's what will happen. I'll be like the old dog, even though I'm like 3 years older. Then they get a puppy and everyone's like, oh, look, the puppy's the young one now. You're the young one now. He's the old one by association. I'll be like, oh, okay, wow. But that'll probably be what happens, right? Once someone younger comes into the fray, people will be like, well, they're the young, they know what they're talking about. But that's the thing, they don't even give me that designation right now. Sure, they turn to me for slang, but they don't turn to me for useful stuff. There's a few of my coworkers, right? Their kids are just starting college now. And they're wondering all these things about college, and they're all just thinking out loud, like, oh my God, are they going to struggle with these things? I don't know. What do you even do in that situation, right? Like, some of them were thinking about moving. They're like, well, how do we move this stuff in? Where do we send this stuff? How do we get this stuff? Is this something we'll need? I'm sitting right there. And they just won't ask me. They're like, yeah, if only there was someone that could help us with this. And I'm like, you guys are, I was right. I was just there. I was there a second ago. That's like watching a bunch of people being like, oh, I wonder what they carry in the store. I was like, I was just at the store. In fact, I just brought a bunch of like shopping bags. You can see I just went to the store. I was literally right. I can tell you what they have. And they're like, yeah, it's just a shame. We'll never know. We're going to have to think about when we went to college, like what, 30 years ago. I'm like, no, I was there maybe like 30 months ago. I could let you know. They're like, yeah, it's just a shame. We'll never know. I guess their kids will have to go through it blind, huh? Sucks for them. I'm, I don't know. But that feels bad if you once you start to get phased out. But it's also good because then a lot of the questions you get are kind of stupid. Oh, is my kid gonna need a jacket for when it rains? Yeah, that's not even a school question. That's just like a human question. Do you when you wake up and it's raining, you have the same thought? That's not. Do you think that changes depending on what college they go to? Well, they're going to this college. Do you think they'll need a raincoat? I don't know. If it rains, then yes. If they doesn't, then no. What are we doing? Anyhow, one of the most embarrassing things I found is knocking something over with your elbow. I was eating a meal the other day. I know. Quit bragging, Garv. I know. I'm out there eating, and I left no crumbs. That's all right. That's just more of a wastefulness thing, not that I slayed, as they may say. He's using this whole young thing too far. He's taking it too far. Now when you start to use slang a little purposefully, that kind of ages you up too, because people are like, "Ooh, that didn't fit there. Ooh, did it not? Shit." It's like when you stop fitting into your clothes from college, you're like, "Oh no, I'm not in college anymore, am I?" It's the same thing with slang. You start trying to fit into certain slang, and you're like, "Oh, I don't fit here. This feels awkward. It's tight around the forearms in a way it's not supposed to be." Because I haven't been lifting weights. It's just getting tighter up there for some reason, and I don't know what that means. I think I'm learning stuff about my body. I'm thinking about, where things get filled in then, huh? But it feels embarrassing, right, when you knock something over your elbow. I was eating a meal, and I had my glass of water right here. And I went for, a forkful, and I almost forked myself. Wow, we love wordplay here, don't we? And I almost, I just kind of, it was a little intimate, wasn't it? I just nuzzled my, I just brushed up against my water, and it kind of did that thing with like a bowling pin when you barely just kind of hit it. It goes whoa, that was crazy, guys. Whoa, do you guys see that? And you look around, and all your bowling pins are down. You're like, I'm the last one. But I kind of did that. I kind of grazed it, and then the bottle or the glass put on a little bit of a performance. They went, whoa. I was like, don't be dramatic. But I thought about it, how catastrophic that would have been if I did make like more direct contact and it toppled over. And I was like, yeah, because that's not even like, sure, it'll take 5 minutes to clean up, but it's more about the embarrassment of the thing. It's not about the action. It's about like, oh, I'm such an idiot. Do I even deserve a place on this earth anymore? Like maybe they should put me down like the old dog I am. In fact, they haven't been asking me questions at work. Maybe I am getting up there. Maybe that's why I didn't see the bottle. Maybe my prescription's going. Maybe I need new glasses. Oh no. It's all coming to fruition. It's all coming and hitting me at full speed. And I can't tank these shots like I used to because I'm getting old. But I do find, I don't know what it is, like something about knocking over a bottle with your elbow, like unintentionally, it feels more embarrassing. Like even if you go to reach something with your hand, you're like, oh shit, I knocked over. Because there was more intention with the hand, right? When you go to reach with a hand, you're like, well, at least I was trying to get something done. When you knock something with your elbow, you're like, well, that wasn't, there was no point in that process where something productive was happening. I know I was going to eat, but like, why did I think to put the bottle there? Then you start second guessing all your like decisions. You're like, why did I put that there? If it was in a blind spot, why did I think that was a good idea? And then you're like, this is why I check the stove and the faucets and stuff and, all the locks before I leave because I'm nervous. Maybe the same person that knocked over this glass with their elbow is probably going to leave something like that on and cause a lot of damage. So I wonder, do you find that to be true? I feel like it's more embarrassing when you hit something with your elbow because it's more of like a portent of more things to come. You're like, if I'm capable of that, well, oh my God, I'm capable of much worse things. Speaking of doing much worse things, I always think about, I don't know if you think about this. I always think about posting something I bought on my Instagram story and then adding a message that says, thanks for the package, Nike or Adidas or whatever company it is, brand. Thanks for sending these over. And I wouldn't be wrong. I would technically be correct, but everyone would think I'm sponsored because that 100% looks like a sponsored post. But I wouldn't be wrong because Nike would have sent me those shoes, right? Thanks for sending me these over, Nike. Something could have gone wrong. The Nike warehouse with all their checks and balances, right? They could have maybe mixed up a number or like a letter and then sent it to the wrong person. But no, they got it to me successfully and safely. And I think that deserves a little bit of recognition, no? But it will throw everyone off of the scent of you not being sponsored by them. And I wonder if Nike would even reach out. They'd be like, hey, can you stop this shit? I know no one watches your shit, but can you stop this shit? It's giving us a bad look. It's like, yeah, we're happy you enjoyed the product, but you're giving them the idea that we would sponsor someone like you, someone like me. That kind of talk, Nike. I'm gonna burn all my socks. How do you feel about that? All my Nike Elite socks. Yeah, just because you DM me like that. Then I'm gonna order more because I'm gonna be like, oh shit, I burned all my socks. And then when I get those socks, I'm gonna be like, thanks for sending these over, Nike. But the thing is, that's also the problem with a lot of sponsorships, though, because when I post something like that, yes, everyone's gonna think, oh my god, is he sponsored by Nike? Because that's like the feel that sponsored posts have. But that's because that's how people do them. They feel so inauthentic. Because no one would just post something they got from like $1 billion brand, right? They're not going to be like, oh, thanks, Nike, for this, if they're just a normal person. Yet everyone that's like sponsored by these companies and brands, they post like that. They post in a way that a normal person would never. And that somehow is the authentic, like, brand integration or sponsorship. And it's weird to me. So that's why I think actually, if I do this, right, it might seem a little silly. I'm a little met with a little internal trepidation upon, engaging with such a tactic. But I think I may pull the trigger because this could actually be a good thing for me. You see, I could start posting on my story, right? Oh, thanks, Saucony. Thanks, Asics, for the shoes. Thanks for sending these over. And then when I actually get the sponsors, the brand deals, right? People will be like, oh, that's a natural integration. This guy's actually perfect because they already post like one of these bots that we hire for a couple $1,000s to post our products. It'll be seamless, frictionless. So I think I might do it because this could be good for my future. Because if I just don't do it and then I suddenly do it, that's why people will be like, oh, well, now he's sponsored. But if I was already doing that when I wasn't sponsored, you won't be able to tell the difference. You got to dress for the job you want, not the job you have, right? But I do think about that sometimes. I'm like, should I just post this and be like, thanks for sending these over, guys. Love them. This is a great shirt. It's a shirt I got from Target. Hey, thanks, Target. It's just one of those graphic t-shirts you get in like elementary school. Like, I'm with stupid. Or it's like, one of those triangles that says find X and X is circled. That shit popped off when I was in elementary school. Find X? Oh my God, he did. But that's not what they mean. That's good. That's good shit. Wow. Love that. People listen to podcasts, right? Because they want to know more about the individual. I don't talk about myself that often, right? But I heard, apparently, if you want to be a better storyteller, you have to say how you feel. Like if you say, I went into a room and I saw something on the desk, apparently it's not a good hook to a story. But if you say, I was nervous to go in this room, and when I entered, what I saw on the desk frightened me. Well, now there's a little bit of intrigue. People are like, oh, interesting. Well, you feel that way. Now I want to know more. I'm invested in the storyteller. And so I wonder, should I do that with this podcast? Should I tell you how I feel? And I'd like to pull back the curtain a little bit and tell you, yeah, I do feel a certain way. I feel a little isolated recently. The way I'm talking about this makes it feel like a bit. It's not. I do feel isolated recently. I feel like there's a lot of things like that get said online, especially like I talked about this a few weeks ago, but my Instagram and TikTok, I feel like the views have been going up. Even on YouTube, my main channel. And, Instagram, even in the past 28 days, I think now it's like 1.1 million views or something. And so naturally there's a lot of comments. And there are some of the stupidest comments I've seen, not all of them. Like 10 to 20% of the comments are really stupid. They're really the dumbest thing I've ever read. I've even responded to some of them. And I've had a handful of them delete their comment because they're like, oh shit, I was wrong. I had this guy write me a paragraph. It was so long, I don't know if Instagram has like a limit, or maybe he thought of something and he came back to it, but he left me like 2 paragraphs in the comments, and he was talking about, I think my post was about GPA or something. And I think the post was like, people with a 2.8 to 3.4 GPA are actually like the best engineers or something. And he gave me this whole dissertation about like, well, this is I think he opened it by saying, this is the most brain dead take. I lost brain cells trying to understand this take. It makes no sense. And then he explained this whole story that agreed with my point. He basically, to paraphrase, was like, I have a low GPA and I'm a rock star. So what you're saying is wrong. And I was like, no, we're on the same team. I'm saying what you're saying. And I remember I woke up the next morning and I got the notification, right? Oh, your comment has 10 likes now. And so I swiped and I was like, oh yeah, let me see if he's responded. The comment was deleted. And there's a bunch of those. There's a bunch of the dumbest shit I've ever seen getting commented on some of my posts. And sometimes, right, some of them are so far gone, I'm like, I'm not going to engage with that. That's insane. But some of them, I'm like, oh no, this is what I meant. And most delete their comments. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Do you guys not think before you comment stuff? See, the people who listen to my podcast, they think too much. I think you guys mean to comment. You just don't, because you're trying to think of the best one, right? That's why we don't get comments on this, right? But it's just, it's the worst thing. I don't like it. It's made me like grow, like my disdain for people has only grown the more I see people talk online. I don't like it. And in person, I even don't like people talking. There was a guy at work, and someone was talking about like, oh, my daughter watches anime. Another guy was like, oh yeah, my daughter likes anime too. I don't know what that is. Kids love anime nowadays. There's something in the air, something in the water, which is weird because I don't feed them water. I don't believe in it. No. I feed them Starbucks cold brew. And I mix in protein shake that I make myself because it's healthier than water. I read a study about it on Instagram. It was a 17 slide carousel, so that's how I knew to trust it. Because no one would spend that much time making something if it wasn't true. And it was online. People wouldn't post something online unless it was true, right? But this guy, the second guy was like, yeah, my daughter watched anime too. I don't know what that's about. I'm even kind of sick of it. Sometimes she'll get in the room and she'll talking about anime. It goes completely over my head. I have no idea what she's talking about. I just leave the room because I'm like, I don't have a place in this conversation. And it's so frustrating to hear these things, because when I was younger, I was led to believe, maybe it's just I was sold a false dream, but I thought adults had it together. I thought there would be role models when I was older. Now it's a bunch of fucking idiots. There are no mentors. There's no one you can look at to be like, oh, that's a good example. I want to be more like that person. There are people where there's certain things about them I admire, but I have found very rarely there are entire individuals where I'm like, oh fuck, I want to be like that person. They're awesome. Like if I could be more like them, that'd be great. There are certain things like the kindness that some people have. I find that admirable and I want to strive towards that. There's some people, right? They're hard workers. I want to be more like that. But there's no one that's like the entire package, and it's pissing me off, man. It's not pissing me off, but it's making me feel isolated. Because I'm like, well, then where are these people? Am I not going to the right rooms, going to the right things to be exposed to these kinds of things? Because it's a bunch of people, right? I don't know. What the fuck are people talking about nowadays? Like people, right? Some of the great people, but they're saying dumb shit. Someone's like, I took out all my life savings to buy a bobsled. I'm like, what are we doing? This person's like, oh, I went on a date with someone. I know I hate them. They already said some like racist stuff to me, but I wanted to see how it plays out, for the plot. I'm like, this isn't a chapter of your story you want to write. What do you mean for the plot? One great plot point And your story could be, I was exposed to this person and I realized they're a fucking loser, so I turned the other way and I did something more productive. But people keep doing things and they're fucking stupid and I don't get it. I feel like I can't relate to anyone. I feel like everyone's doing stupid ass shit. Do I do stupid shit? Of course. Yeah, easy. You were quick to point the finger. I saw that. But I don't know. I feel more isolated because I feel like most people I interact with, and maybe it's just a product of my circumstances, but they piss me the fuck off. Most things I see online, most things I hear in person are upsetting. There are so few people. This is what happened. I haven't hung out with a friend in maybe like 5 weeks or something, so that's probably the problem. But I am so pissed off. Just it's like overall, right? And so I wonder what is going on. Why did I think when I was younger that adults that I'll have a bunch of mentors, I'll have a bunch of people that I'm like, that's I want to be just like them. Like I'm gonna be so like insecure about like, I got to play catch up. I feel like everyone's doing so much better than me. Everyone feels like they're doing worse than me. And that's not a testament to, I'm doing great. Everyone's doing really bad. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Is everyone doing that bad? Is this actually just like the baseline? Maybe I have a false expectation of where people should be. Like I have a false notion of an average. Maybe, this lower average is like what the average actually is. And I just always thought it was up here. I don't know what's going on. And so it's led me to feel a little isolated. Because I'm like, all these conversations feel unfulfilling because I'm like, what the fuck? It feels like I'm helping you more than you. I need someone to help me. I feel like there's a lot of problems I have in my life. I would like you to provide some guidance, but everyone's dealing with weird ass shit that doesn't. I don't know. So do you find that to be true? Speaking of dealing with tough things, on my refrigerator, I have that auto dispenser with water, and it has 3 auto set modes. You can do 8 ounces, 16 ounces, 24 ounces, 1, 2, and 3 cups, respectively. And I always have this glass, the glass I knocked over 15 minutes ago, and it holds 16 ounces of liquid. And it would always fill it, right? When I click the 16 ounce, it would always fill it, and it would leave about a 2 fingers width from the top of the glass, and it felt good, that it wasn't running any risk of overflowing. But recently I changed my water filter, and it keeps filling it pretty much right to the top. Keeps, basically rimming it out, giving a little rim job, And every time I get nervous it's going to overflow, even though I know it's a preset 16 ounces, it's not going to overflow. It literally can't. But I'm like, what if it does? But the other day I accidentally pressed 24. Maybe I didn't realize it or something. And I put the 16 ounce glass and I filled it and it went 8 ounces over. I got a cup of water everywhere. I don't even know how, but I feel like more than 8 ounces left the cup, even though that's pretty much impossible. And so it wasn't a big deal, right? I cleaned it up. It wasn't that much time. Maybe it took 5 minutes to clean up. It wasn't a high stakes situation. Yet every time I fill my 16 ounce glass, I feel like, the world's going to end if it goes over the rim. I've already experienced it go over the rim. And it's not a big deal, but it still scares me every time. I'm like, oh my God, the world's going to end if it goes over. I've already experienced it go. The world's not going to end. But it's the same thing. It's like it validated the fear, though, that it could go over. Like you would think, Gauruv, it went over and you realize nothing bad happened. But to me, it validated the fear that, oh my God, it can go over. It's kind of like, right? If you hear there's a car model that's never had an accident, historically, never had an accident, right? A Prius. They come out with a new Prius. They're like, this Prius never had an accident. But then you find out someone was driving that Prius and they had an accident. The first accident with that Prius was had. It opens the floodgates. Now there will be probably more accidents. It's the same reason, right? When people found out you could run a 4-minute mile, everyone started running 4-minute miles. Not everyone, but it became more and more impossible, or more and more possible. What was once impossible was now seemingly very possible for, the top 0.01%. But before it was impossible. No one was doing it until one person did it. And so, yes, now that the cup, went over, the cup runneth over, I realized, oh my God, it can happen. So now I'm like, who's to say it won't happen again? Now, I'm the one that set the 24 ounces, but that's the thing. I did that on accident. I didn't realize I did it. I only realized once the cup started, you know, water started getting all over the fridge. I was like, oh fuck, I fucked it up. And so that's why I'm still nervous. Even when I fill up a 16-ounce glass with 16 preset ounces of water, I'm still like, what if it runs over? Because it always gets very close, and it triggers something in my brain that's like, oh, watch out, Garv, it's gonna go over. But I'm like, it's not. I set the thing. It's not gonna. I don't know. I haven't played Minecraft since 2021. Apparently, July 2021. And so I don't know why. Earlier this week, there was like an hour I had, and I was like, let me play Minecraft real quick. Let me update the app and then play and see how it feels. Is it as enjoyable as it once and it always has been? And it is. It's very enjoyable. But I did load up a world that I had started 4 years ago, and I was in a mine shaft. I was like, where the fuck am I? I had two furnaces going, right? One smelting gold, one smelting iron. And then I was like, yeah, but is this my home? Or do I have a home up above ground? I was like, I forgot how deep I got into this world. I had like a diamond helmet, but everything else was iron. So I was like, what the? How much progress have I made? Is there a home base waiting for me somewhere? But I was like, I don't know how to figure this out. But I was like, oh, well, last time I was on this world was July 2021. So I was like, maybe I have a picture on my phone. That's something that past Garv would have done. I know how I act in the past. So I go into my phone's pictures. I go around July 2021. I start looking. Is there any pictures of like a screen where I took a picture of the coordinates? And then I would know, hey, maybe that's where my home base is. And I came across the screenshot and it broke my heart. I don't know if you do this. Do you ever get a really nice text from a friend or something like that? Or get some kind of notification on the front, the lock screen of your phone, and then you take a screenshot because you're like, oh, I want to save this. I want to mark this. Even though you basically have no intention of ever looking at that photo again, you still take the screenshot for some reason. And it could be something, right? Like a text message from a friend or maybe a nice notification where it's like, oh shit, this post has reached 100 likes. And you're like, oh, well, still got it, huh? Or it could be something a little innocuous, right? Where it's like the time says 11:11 and then your phone charges at 11%. And then also you got a text message from someone 11 minutes ago. And so you take a screenshot there. There's probably a good chance you'll look back at that screenshot and be like, why the fuck did I take this screenshot? I have no idea what this is about. And then it'll take you a second and be like, oh wait, there's actually a lot of 11s here. And so that's why you take the screenshot. But again, what is that doing for you in the future? I don't know. But you still take a screenshot because you're like, no, I'm gonna use this in the future for sure. Well, I did that apparently 4 years ago, July 2021. I took a screenshot of a friend's text message, and then as I was looking for the picture of the coordinates of my old Minecraft house that I supposed existed, but I had no confirmation that it did, I came across the screenshot from a friend, and I read it, and it was kind of, like a little paragraph. And I saw at the beginning of it, it said in all caps, it said, I miss you. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't even talk to this person anymore. But I don't know why reading that message, it kind of, it didn't break my heart, but it's weird that you can be so close to people in the past and then you can just be strangers now. This isn't an interesting idea. Katy Perry's written lyrics about this. Selena Gomez has written lyrics about this. Every fucking person's written lyrics about this. But when you experience it in real life, it's weird. It makes your ears like feel hot and certain parts of you get sweaty and you're like, oh, fuck. So I came across that text message because, like I said, I do feel a little isolated right now. But it's interesting to know that like 4 years ago, I was close enough to someone that they would type to me in all caps, I miss you. Hmm. That's nice. What also is nice is the music I've been listening to recently. I've listening to a song called Everybody Loves Somebody. I like the Frank Sinatra version. It was originally sung by Peggy Lee in 1947, But then it was popularized when Dean Martin covered it. And it was, I think it reached like number one on the radio or whatever. But for some reason, I really like the Frank Sinatra cover of this song. I also like Did I Remember by Catherine Russell. And these songs, they have that same feel, right? Like the 20th century American jazz and blues kind of feel. And I've been really into that recently. And I think the reason is because like it feels like socially acceptable Christmas music that you can listen to like year round. It's just Christmas music that's like socially acceptable to listen to year round is probably a better way of saying it. Because it has that feel. I don't know if it's a product of Bublé, right? Michael Bublé, because he kind of has that same feel and he sings a lot of Christmas songs, or he's covered a lot of them. So maybe that's why my present brain is reminded of those. It's weak association, but it's there nonetheless. But I've been really into those two songs. Everybody Loves Somebody and Did I Remember by Catherine Russell. So those are two songs I've been listening to. And this was another episode of this podcast. To any of the Swifties that found me from last episode, welcome. It's good to have you. I'm glad you could find a place here. And just keep commenting and liking on these videos. You know, I'm not going anywhere, right? This podcast isn't going to stop. I'm going to keep doing this until it's successful. So it would probably just behoove you to buy in early. Remember, this is a stock. I've talked about it many times in the past, but this is a stock. It's better to buy in when its stock is low. So I'm just heeding caution. You don't want to miss these day one deals. Get in now. Subscribe, like, comment. Be a part of this family. Because we do episodes every week. And there's no plan to stop that anytime soon. So thank you so much for another great week. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And I will talk to you next week. Okay.